in the dying embers of human existence. As the asteroid, a behemoth the size of Texas, hurtles relentlessly toward Earth, the world braces for an apocalyptic end. Deep beneath the bunker, a refuge plunges into the bowels of the earth. Here the chosen gather, their purpose clear, to preserve the very soul of our civilization. The 35 and 70 millimeter prints that encapsulate the magic, the emotion, and the dreams of generations past. These masterpieces, each frame a testament to the human spirit, are carefully cataloged and cradled in the cavernous confines of the bunker. Perhaps there was room for more, for friends and family yearning for salvation, but sacrifices must be made. The movie nerds stand united, the keepers of a flame, promising a future where the art of storytelling endures, transcending the boundaries of time and space. God help us all.
Welcome to Back to the Frame Rate, part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. In this cinematic crusade, we journey through films on VOD and streaming platforms, deciding their fate, salvation in our vault of legends, or eternal banishment to the flames of the coming asteroid apocalypse. You can find episodes of our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app, or find us on social media at Back to the Frame Rate. I am Nathan Schuer, and accompanying me are the extraordinary movie mavens Brianna Butterworth and Sam Cole.
Hello.
Greetings.
Hello, and welcome to our 99th episode
Woo!
of Back to the Frame Rate.
Weston Media Podcast, dude.
That's a nice jingle, Sam. I'm going to talk to the board about implementing that in front of all of our programming.
Oh,
Woo!
thank you. I thank you very much. I appreciate
Royalties?
it.
You're not going to want royalties, I hope, right?
No. It's
Okay,
just the honor of my singing having been heard brings joy to my heart. I ask for nothing in return.
I've captured a lot of singing of yours, Sam. So, I could, cut a whole full album at this point.
Yeah, there's some wackiness on file. That's for sure. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This should be a really fun episode. We've done this now 2 years in a row. We're going to do our wrap up of the past year. Hey, Happy New Year, everyone. It is 2025.
Happy
2025.
How do we get here? Flipping the calendar.
Slippery slope of life decisions. Here we are.
Yeah. Well,
Time of Sunday. By the way, happy 4th anniversary of the Capitol riots. Anyway, continue.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Sorry, I could not resist. You know me, wacky comedy. I apologize.
Well, in this episode, we are going to be counting down our top 10 films of 2024. And also, we're going to have a few, maybe some superlatives and honorable mentions, some other categories of awards we'll hand out for some other films. But yeah, this should be fun. And then later on in the episode, we do have a special announcement about our 100th episode.
Woo-woo.
Coming up. So stick around for that. You don't want to miss that. So let's get into this. We have you were just saying, how many movies did you watch last year from 2024?
272. So it's not a super strong. Well, I've done better.
I'm not even saying how many I watched because
I could barely come up with the top 10. Yeah.
You're pretty close. Put in
Sam picks the movie leftovers from last year, I'm guessing.
I'm just going to go with Super Mario Brothers again, 2023.
I will
That's all 10 spots, yeah.
I will say I tried really hard to have a comprehensive view, but I have some pretty serious blind spots that I wish I didn't going into today's episode.
Well, do you want to have any caveats here? Anything that you missed this year? We can say it right now off the bat because people might be asking, why isn't this movie on our list?
Totally.
I will say right off the bat, I've seen several movies this year that I've liked, but I have not seen so many films that this is probably going to be like my worst top 10 list unintentionally. No. I just have a lot more to see. So I just want to promise the audience and the people of America that I will get to these films. I will watch them. I've just been busy with stuff, but my apologies to the country, and I will not let you guys down.
Well, do you
Sam
want to hear
Cole for
something?
president 2028. Thanks.
Well, I hear something funny before you answer that question, B. One year, I think it might have been like 2015 or 2016. I was so behind on movies, and I've always put out a top 10 list on social media, but I was so embarrassed of the lack of movies that I watched. I put out a top 10 list of the previous year because I finally caught up on like the 2016. Hey, I caught up on my 2015 movies. This is my top 10 of 2015. And I felt good about that.
You had some closure. Sometimes that's the way to do it. So one of the things that impeded me it was just release dates. So I'll just say now, one of my blind spots that I feel pretty confident would have been in the top 10 is Nickel Boys. And it just came out this past week here in Massachusetts, and I haven't been able to get to it.
Same.
The other two are Janet Planet, which was not an issue with release date. It was one of those movies I was like, this is going to be emotionally, it's going to wreck me. And I kept putting it off until I just put it off. And then Do Not Expect Too Much from the End of the World. All three of those, I'm like, these could have been real contenders. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't get to it. Get to it. I'm sorry.
Well, all will be forgiven, I'm sure.
Thanks.
Thanks,
guys.
Believe me, I understand.
Thanks, guys.
There were a few I did not get to. I really wanted to catch Sing Sing, but that was not had like a tiny release in the summer. Never got a digital release. I think it's because it's going to be re-released in the theaters, maybe around awards season. That's why they didn't want to. I didn't see A Real Pain. I think it just got a digital release.
I just watched that.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it. I honestly have not seen The Substance yet. I'm embarrassed to say, and I will watch it because I've only heard incredible things about it.
It was really cool. Yeah.
And there was a couple, I know Nickel Boys just came out, and The Brutalist, which just was not available in the theater anywhere around here. So a couple caveats, but hey, we're not.
I'm an unpaid movie critic,
Exactly. We're not getting screener copies like other people, other critics do, where we get advanced screeners of this where we can do that. So that's not the position that we're in. So go listen somewhere else, folks, if that's what you're looking for.
out of 72, these are my top 10. Yeah. And I don't know that I hit the highs of 2023, but there were some really creative things that were put out this year that interested me a lot. So it was exciting in that way.
Well, I think it's saying anything else, or shall we get to this?
Oh God, there's so many films. I'll discuss it as I go. But I will say that on a positive note,
your list will speak for itself.
On a positive note, I am thrilled to announce that it is the year of Avatar: Fire and Ash. Less than a year ago.
Yes,
it is.
Excited for that because, of course, I would be, but I am.
There's actually a ton of things coming out in 2025 that has me really pumped for.
Jurassic World Rebirth looks intriguing to me because I mean, look,
that's not one of them.
I personally, I never get tired of dinosaurs chasing people. That is one algorithm. Which is why
65
always
is
watch.
One of your favorites. Yes, right.
Oh, 65 is my number one. That's the best. Forget Jaws. 65 is where it's at.
Right.
Forget Jaws. Oh, that's funny.
Okay. Well, let's begin our top 10. Well, Sam, do you want to begin? Do you want me to begin? B, how should we start this?
Go for it.
I'll go. Oh, no, you go.
Okay.
You go, Nathan.
Okay, fine. I'll begin. I'll open this up. Okay, so my number 10 is Dune Part 2. From Denis Villeneuve. I think this is, of all the big budget action movies, epic films that came out this past year, I think this was the perfect mix of spectacle and scale and great storytelling. So, and I just think he just took a text that was just impossible to turn into a film. As you know, I'm not a fan of the David Lynch version, but what he did with this, turning into two films, I think was commendable. I thought this was great. And this really, I liked this movie when it came out, but as I sat with this, I learned to really love this movie. And I saw it again and it's an amazing work of art. So I do, and I can't wait to see Dune Messiah, which I think is scheduled for a few years. I'm not holding my breath it's going to meet its release date, which I think is December 2026. I think that's unlikely, but I've heard good things about Dune Prophecy. But I'm all in on this world now. I think it's really, really great, and it's so rich, and I love this whole world. And I think that he's now opened up another franchise that we're going to mine and see a lot of stories from. So I'm excited where this whole thing's going to go, and thank God that he was able to tackle this book series, and I'm excited where it's going to go. So yes, Dune Part 2 is my number 10.
3 cheers to that. I wholeheartedly concur. Like courtroom javel, bam, bam, yay!
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We're here.
Dune 2, good fucking movie. Like it a lot. Yeah.
All right, B, why don't you take the next one?
Sure.
Your number 10.
My number 10, I don't know if either of you have seen this. I don't think we've talked about it on here, but Dahomey, kind of a late hitter.
Dahomey.
Hope I'm saying that right. It is a pretty short, it's just under 70 minutes, pretty short, kind of documentary. It is a documentary, but it's about artifacts that were stolen from Dahomey and taken by the French and then brought back, but only a few were brought back out of the whole collection. And the story is told from the perspective of one of the artifacts. And it talks about how the artifact, once it's back in its home, still feels displaced. And then there's sort of a second part where there's a debate about the intention of France giving back these artifacts and what it means for the people of this town, of this state now. So it was really creative. I haven't seen anyone do a documentary like this. You know, Nathan, we had talked earlier this year. We both wanted to actively watch more docs. I didn't see a ton, but I saw this one. And I'm so glad I did because it was incredibly refreshing and just, like I said, a take on the form that I've never seen. So
okay, and I see it's on Prime Video now, but it's playing in some theaters as well.
Cool.
So you could catch it if it's playing locally in Massachusetts. It's playing at the Brattle Theater.
Oh, is it really?
It's on Prime Video too. So
that's awesome.
It might be playing at one of your boutique theaters in your neighborhood, listeners, or you
go check it out.
Oh, interesting. All right, good pick. Mm-hmm. Sam, what is your number 10?
So my number 10 would be Wolves, directed by John Watts, starring Brad Pitt and George Clooney, and also Amy Ryan. I actually really enjoyed it. I just watched it randomly one night. Very taut, fun thriller, very quirky, well shot, interesting scenario. I did a lot with like close quarter situations. I won't give away, like there's like a lot of twists and reveals in it, but I just overall enjoyed it. And it was very memorable to me, as there's a lot of films that I watch that they'll like leave my head, but this one stuck with me. So give Wolves a viewing. You will be entertained.
Mm-hmm. I know why you like this movie, Sam. It's that same dichotomy as like the Ocean's 11 type dialogue. Snappy. Yeah, like
exactly.
It did that for me as well. I thought this movie went on a little long, maybe not long, but kind of the third act I thought fell apart a little bit. I liked them, the Clooney Pitt dialogue, their dynamic. I thought was great. They could just riff off each other all day long. I'll buy that ticket. I did think that the story kind of petered out a little bit, but
I totally hear that.
Perfectly serviceable.
I hear that 100%. Like it wasn't amazing. It didn't reinvent the wheel, but it did its thing that you just described. It did it well. It was like popcorn fun, you know? Yeah.
It is totally. Okay. I think we're back to me.
Yeah. Number 9.
So number 9, this was a movie that was, we did, listeners, we did halfway through the year, we did our mid-year top 5 picks. This movie was one of my early favorite movies. It did not leave my top 5, and it is Challengers.
I love it. Yes.
I almost feel bad that Challengers is this low on my list because it was so long in like my top 2 or 3, but it started going further down the list, and I actually I almost wanted to stop watching movies because I didn't want it to leave my top 10.
It's so good.
And I kept saying, oh, it's down to 7, it's down to 8, it's down to 9 now. I'm like, damn it, I don't want it to leave my top 10. I'm worried that this movie is going to get completely snubbed out of award season.
I think it will.
And I think it's going to. Came out in April, I think.
Yeah.
And this is basically a three-hander. Incredible performances from Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, Mike
Feist.
I love the pace of this movie. It's like not like watching a tennis match. The banter in this, the back and forth, and you almost feel like the ball being throttled back and forth between these characters. And at times, the camera is literally the ball.
It's so cool, and the soundtrack fucking rips.
And I've got to tell you guys this. I am so embarrassed to say I have not seen Challengers yet. That is high on my list, and I'm on it. Honestly, from everything I've heard about, from like both your opinions, I'm sure it would be on my top 10. And again, I apologize to the world.
No, it just means I wish I could watch that movie again for the first time, because it was like such an experience. I think they won a Golden Globe for the score.
Oh, good, because the Reznor Atticus Ross score
is incredible.
Is so good. I think I mentioned it might be my. It's a lot of praise.
I think it's my favorite score.
It might be my favorite score of theirs. And you know, we're talking Social Network. We're talking a lot of great things this tandem has done. It's so good.
It's up there. Yeah.
So Challengers is my number 9. All right. So B, what is your number 9?
Alien Romulus, baby.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I like this movie so much. So out of this, collection of a few dozen movies that I watched this year, there's only a handful that I've already watched twice, and this is one of them. It just has that rewatchable factor for me. I can see myself coming back to it as a comfort movie, and I thought it would go down on the second watch, honestly, just because it does have that video game nature, and I was worried that it would feel more formulaic. But I just found more things to like about the set design and the performances that it kind of just stayed where it was for me. I had so much fun watching it. And it's the kind of movie that I think when you show to people who are just getting into movies can get really into movies. It's the kind of thing. And I think the Alien franchise is great at that, at being like a gateway to great cinema through something really accessible. And also great.
Yeah. Good pick. I really like this movie too. So yeah, I have nothing bad to say about it. I think I think we agree it's probably the best Alien movie probably since Aliens, maybe, so
yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah. All right, Sam, what is your number 9?
So not to be repetitive, but my number 9 is also Alien Romulus.
And,
I have to say, I enjoy that. I give it such a high rating. I give it a huge high rating for like the first half of it. I thought the beginning, everything, the setup. I enjoy it. To rip off a friend's phrase, I do think it does feel like Alien: The Force Awakens a little bit, where it's like it calls back every single thing it can.
There's a lot.
But aside from the callbacks, when it did its own original thing, like when it had all the face huggers running around in the hallway, that whole sequence was completely innovative and fresh to that film because we hadn't seen that before. And so when it did that and didn't like do callbacks or like remind you of tropes from the other films, I loved it. I had issues with the scenes where it did the tropes, but it was still entertaining, and I thought it was visually spectacular. So, like, it definitely made the list.
I had issues with Ian Holm, but that hallway scene with the shooting and the gravity, I was like, I'm in.
Yeah,
that was awesome. Yeah, the CGI Ian Holm was like irritating to me. But
yeah. All right, we're gonna move on to our eighth picks, and my number 8 is The Wild Robot. The Wild Robot was one of the biggest surprises of the year. I never would have imagined this movie was going to make my top 10 when I actually heard about it. But this movie just won me over. At the core, it's got such a big heart. And I've read a lot of comparisons to like the Iron Giant, even WALL-E. But I actually think I prefer this movie more than those. And I like that it's grounded in nature. And it's almost on an intimate scale. There aren't world-ending stakes in this movie, and it's about growth through adaptation and
Mm,
parent-child dynamics. And as this robot Roz is befriending this like Gosling, and it just has this really unique meditative quality to it as well
mm,
that just really resonated with me. So what
yeah.
one of my biggest complaints is, we have like all these movies from like Disney and Pixar, DreamWorks Animation, Illumination, and
Mm,
many of these films, I really dig them, a lot of them. In fact, one of these might end up later in my list as well. But I feel like these studios, I feel like are the best metaphor I can make is that they all have like a box of crayons of 32 colors, and they
mhm,
seem to all be limited by these 32 colors. And I'm getting so tired of like Pixar movies will always looks like Pixar movies, and DreamWorks Animation always has their color palette. And
mhm,
it was so refreshing to see another studio like Leica does the same
mm,
thing as well.
mhm,
To have a movie like this come out, and this movie has such this painterly quality to it. It's like what a breath of
yeah.
fresh air to see this big scope animated movie, you know, that just burst into the scene that just I felt like it was massaging my eyeballs, seeing
Mhm,
something that just wasn't like everything else I see. And I would even say like Miyazaki, even though I like Miyazaki movies, a lot of his movies have a sameness as well. So I studied Ghibli, is what I should say. So this was just so wonderful just for my eyes to rest on it. I loved how everything just kind of like felt like it was just slowly just moving, and this painterly feel to it. It just was so gorgeous to look at.
mhm.
So yeah.
That was
I
my
think it
number
was
11.
from. That's awesome. I think it was from the producers of How to Train Your Dragon. I think I think I saw it on the poster.
Oh, maybe.
I mean,
I don't know.
yeah.
I loved that movie. I was weeping by the end of
Mm,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
beautiful movie.
I haven't seen it. I look forward to seeing it.
By the way, movie that
Fuck.
I am not looking forward to is the live action How to Train Your Dragon, because it looks like just another live action remake. I'm just like, I am so checked out of that.
I know, me too.
Yeah, I thought, I'll be honest, I thought the trailer was or that like teaser trailer was it didn't look great because it was one of those like very CGI oriented, and you thought, well, why not just like it started
Make
as
it anime.
animated film, like they're just duplicating the look. I thought they were going to take the story and do something visually different. And I
It
saw
seems
that trailer, I'm like, it's like looks like a shot for shot
it does.
remake.
I
Like
think it's
Right.
going to do
why?
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boo. Dumb.
Yeah.
we'll
B,
find out, I guess.
you're number 8.
I saw the TV Glow, Jane Schoenbrunn.
Mm-hmm. I know you love this. Yeah.
I really did. This is one of those movies that throughout the year the imagery has just stuck with me. I watched it pretty early on, but Jane's movies for me are just sticky like that. They just sort of stay in my brain and they're hard to shake, and I think they tap into a very specific period in time that happened to be the time that I grew up. And it's the closest I feel to a nostalgia movie without being a movie that I grew up on. And I saw this particular film centers around a fake TV show that feels so real. It's so on the nose of a movie from that era or a TV show from that era. And that sense of identity when you're kind of a weird kid that so associates and sublimates into the media that you consume and what that means and how you grow out of it and you identify yourself with it, and it's really beautiful.
That's a good pick. B. I think we talked about on the podcast that I saw this. I wanted to love this
Yeah.
so much, and I was because this movie I should, because I was also grew up in this era as well with the Buffy and Angel and
Buffy.
X-Files and
Yeah.
this 90s nostalgia. I'm like, why is this not connecting with me? And I don't know why. Maybe I wasn't a weird enough kid. I don't know.
And I do think we're all going to the World's Fair, which it just
Yeah,
that's a little higher for me
Yeah.
than I saw the TV Glow. That just hit me in a different way, but I still love this film, and I can't wait to rewatch it. It hasn't made my rewatch list yet, but I feel like I still know it shot for shot.
You're making me rethink something later on in the show. So okay,
Okay,
all right. Sam, you're number 8.
So because I have a real soft spot for high octane action films and
Yes.
I love 90s, like I highly enjoyed Bad Boys Ride or Die. I'm a fan of I still think Bad Boys 2 has the craziest, like most gonzo off the wall. Like that's Michael Bay's Bayest film. But I enjoyed it, and I also like that in this age where like a lot of these huge blockbusters carry price tags of like 250 million, or like Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny 350 million. This was made for 90 million, which is still a lot, obviously, but just to be able to deliver big popcorn action like that on a slightly more fiscally conservative budget, I say it gives hope for the cinematic future of that genre. So number 8, wasn't it great? Hey,
I still need to catch up on the third one, which I haven't. I haven't yet. So I need to marathon all 4 of these someday.
I didn't catch up on that one, but I did catch up on the new Beverly Hills Cop, which I feel like is sort of a thing.
Don't tell us your number 7 yet, B.
Oh my god.
Wait, and because I'm psychic and I'm so good at being psychic, B, let me guess. I know what your number 1 is. Hold on, I'm going to say it. Juror number 2. Am I right?
Totally. Everyone knows that I ride hard for juror number 2 and Clint Eastwood generally. Honestly.
All right, we're up to our number 7, and so each year we just talked about this. I vow to watch more documentaries, and a goal I fail miserably at every year. And I tried to watch. I did watch Skywalker's A Love Story. I did not like that, so that was even close to my top 10. And I watched a movie I thought would make my top 10 because everybody loves it, and that's that Superman, the Christopher Reeve movie.
Oh yeah,
didn't even make my top 20. It was good, but didn't make my top 20. But on Christmas Day, my family and I were sitting at home, and we decided to watch Elf. Actually, from 2003, Will Ferrell movie. I actually hadn't seen it in like 20 years, and I kind of wanted.
I remember that film.
Oh, I love Elf.
And during that, it reminded me that I've been meaning for months to check out this documentary with Will Ferrell that he was involved in, entitled Will and Harper, that I was hearing some good things about. And I loved this movie.
It's so good.
First of all, I'm a sucker for any movie that takes me on a cross-country road trip. But then add in this premise where, Will's friend, who was born Andrew Steele, whom he's known for 27 years or so, and they go way back to his early days on SNL. And they later collaborated on films. And so this movie is about Andrew, who decided to come out as a trans woman. I don't want to get this wrong because I know there's a lot of, I don't want to get in trouble for that, but I think that's how it is. He comes out as a trans woman named Harper. And it's about coming out to her friends and how they would take this news. But it's more than that. It's more about Harper becoming comfortable in her own skin. So Will proposes this cross-country road trip from New York to LA, stopping all these places that Harper used to frequent when she was identified as a male. And it's fascinating and a beautiful story about friendship. And there are these several times at this movie, it gets so raw and open about the difficulties Harper is going through that it's almost too hard to watch at some points. And I can't recommend this film enough, especially nowadays with the trans community and their legal rights being threatened. It's really, really an important movie right now that I think everybody should watch. It's funny. I was bawling at times in this movie. It's really great. And so, yes, Will and Harper is skyrocketed to the number 7, which I never thought this was going to be something I was going to like until I saw it. But it is a fantastic documentary.
Yeah, it's a beautiful movie.
Awesome.
All right, B, your number 7.
Not nearly as touching as that, but a late entry that I knew was gonna make it. Nosferatu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see it. I have not seen it.
One thing about Nosferatu, that dude be horny. It's crazy.
That's a term that's getting thrown around. It's a horny movie.
It's a horny movie. I still don't think it's any hornier than the Keanu Reeves one.
He's creepy, bald guy with a mustache. I don't find anything horny about him, but sure.
Well, and like the whole movie culminates in him doing
Okay.
missionary.
Yeah.
Okay. But no,
I agree. Good
I'm
film.
a big Eggers fan. I don't know that this, for me, The Lighthouse is like The Lighthouse, you know, but this was just another awesome entry. And another example of just this could be a movie that turns people into cinephiles like that. I know that word can feel kind of icky, but there's so much respect for the source material in this remake.
Mhm.
The lighting, the German expressionism here, the shot for shot stuff with the original Nosferatu. I'm so grateful that I got to see the original so recently, so it's fresh in my mind. But it's clear that Eggers has really studied this. And I think the movie transcends just the technical prowess. I also think he affords much more character and agency to the women in the film than has ever been put on display.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he does much more character exploration and motivation exploration than is done. So I think it's great. I think it's a great entry into the Dracula Nosferatu canon.
Excellent. Yeah.
God, I can't wait to see it.
I agree. It missed my top 10 by a little bit, but yeah, good pick. Sam, what is your number 7?
So my number 7 would be the movie September 5th, directed by Tim Fellbaum. It's all about the 1972 Olympics and like the day that that the massacre happened. And I loved it because the whole film is shot in a very docudrama style, and the tone and everything of it is so authentic. It really feels actually like 1972, as opposed to films that sort of try to do like a period piece, but you can see they kind of put a modern spin on it. This feels very voyeuristic in the best possible way, that you're there like front and center in the situation unfolding. And I loved it, and I look forward to seeing it again. But just like the tonality, the experience, 2 thumbs up. That's definitely my number 7. Strong recommend, 90% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I saw trailers for it. It looked awesome.
It's great. Like I was surprised. I had no expectations. I didn't really know about it, and I liked it a lot.
Now you got to see this at a festival, right? Because this hasn't been released worldwide yet, right?
I think it has. I think it. I don't know if it's worldwide, but I think it came out theatrically. But I went to like a premiere of it, a screening of it at Paramount like a week before it came out. But I think it's out now, maybe somewhere. I think in the U.S.
Oh, good.
Or no, wait. You might be right. It actually may get a theatrical release in January. I'm not sure. So
I think it is.
I think you might be right.
I didn't know if this was technically going to be a 2025 release or not. But anyways, you got a chance to see it early, and that's awesome. So yeah, great. I'm really looking forward to this. This might end up being on my top 10 next year if I have.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And I think you're right. It does come out in January. But yeah, definitely worth it.
Well,
that's awesome.
That's great. All right, so we're up to our 6 picks, and this is the movie that actually slipped in at the last minute. I think I saw this 2 days ago. Over this past weekend, I checked out Ghostlight, and this is from directors Kelly O'Sullivan and Alex Thompson. So this is actually kind of hard to talk about because this movie again wrecked me, and I have a tendency of watching movies that really destroy me sometimes. The parallels of what takes place in this movie kind of took place during a tumultuous time in my life a few years back, which is kind of uncanny, which it's kind of weird. But basic premise, without giving away too much, there's this character, Dan, is a father who's a construction worker, and he's got some rage issues, but he has this 16-year-old daughter also that acts out in these kind of terrible ways as well. But we learned that this all stems from this family tragedy. I'm not going to talk about what that is yet because that's important plot point here. But so Dan stumbles upon this opportunity kind of in a weird way to join a community theater group's production of Romeo and Juliet, which both magnify his grief that he's going through, but also kind of help him work through it. So this was a very difficult watch for me because without getting into too much personal stuff, I really identified with the main character, Dan, in many ways, because I don't want to talk about it in the podcast, but there's a lot that paralleled with his journey of during a time of grief, found solace joining a community theater and working things out with that.
Mm.
I went through a similar thing 5-6 years ago, which was so weird watching this movie. And this is a really lovely movie. It's quietly showing us a portrayal of grief that I haven't seen in a film before. So, but in this movie, I was bawling my eyes out again. So this really struck a chord with me. This movie is not for everybody, but it was great performances, really well done. So it's called Ghostlight. Yeah. It's,
I haven't even heard of it.
yeah, it was a small release. It's on AMC
Oh, cool.
Plus. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, right now. Yeah. It's really well done.
Awesome.
All right. So B, your number 6.
Number 6 is a movie that I think is important to the American canon, going with The Piano Lesson. The latest adaptation of August Wilson Plays The Washington Family back in action, Denzel producing, Malcolm directing, and John David starring in it. Of course, you have to mention Danielle Deadwyler too. Her performance is incredible. I just think this whole project of adapting these plays is critical. And I think it's wonderful that they're getting to be seen by a modern audience with such a wide reach on Netflix.
Yeah.
And not only that, it was super well done. It's a compelling story. And I love the way it was told. I think it's the story of like wanting to hold close to your family's heritage, I think is something everyone can relate to or understand. And the sibling dynamic or any family dynamic about how you honor your past, but grow and move on and honor the wishes that your ancestors probably had for you, obviously is something that I think a lot of people can touch on, but is so important in the context of slavery in this story and needs to be told, needs to be shared. And it was done super well. I love the ending and I was crying like a baby. So
yeah, really well done. Yeah. And Danielle Deadwyler was a big fan of her in this.
Oh my God. So
I
good.
still don't know about John David Washington's performance in this. I was kind of mixed on it, but yeah, it was good. I liked Samuel Jackson in this a lot. It was well done. It was really well done. Missed my top 10, but it was definitely an honorable mention. Yeah. Very cool. All right. Good pick. Sam, you're number 6.
So my number 6 was hilarious, over the top, raunchy, crazy, and had the thinnest plot I have ever seen for a blockbuster. But I did not care. I am, of course, referring to Deadpool and Wolverine, which I highly, highly enjoyed. It's like, it was complete, like, the freedom in which it indulged itself. It was just like an awesome, over-the-top, bloated, crazy, wild ride. And literally, like, for 30 minutes straight of this film, like, Deadpool and Wolverine just beat the shit out of each other, and it's just ridiculous. I just, like... I had so much fun. Like it's not a great film in the history of cinema, but like I was wildly entertained by this film. So it made the list because like I just laughed like the hardest I've laughed all year probably.
I hear that. I agree. I had a great time with this. So yeah. I wonder though how much of an actual movie it was, more than just like.
Oh, it's barely a movie.
How
barely
awesome
a movie.
Yeah. Barely a movie.
I even love how they like purposely rip off the like Mad Max vibe. They're like, "Hey, it looks kind of Mad Maxy out here in the desert scenes." I was like, "That's funny."
Yeah. Yeah, good time. I had so much fun watching that.
Sublimely ridiculous.
All right, we're halfway through.
Here we are.
We're in the back 9 now, or the back 5, I should say. Okay, so my number 5. So a few picks ago, I praised The Wild Robot for its original animation style, and I kind of ridiculed other big studios for always dipping their paintbrush in the same bucket. So here's where you can call out my bullshit, because I can't deny the fact that I thought Inside Out 2 was still one of the year's best movies. And I
want to see that too. I love the first one. See how like I am so like, man,
Sam, get off your booty. Go see some movies.
And I might be in the minority because again, we all bring our own baggage to movies that we see in Inside Out
Sure.
2. Again,
I have
with
a feeling I would like it.
the addition of new characters, especially Anxiety, just struck a chord with both me and my family as we sat in the theater watching this last summer. The Pixar folks, I don't know how they do it, but I think they created an incredible sequel to one of their truly classic films. Not exactly as good as the first, but close. And I think the progression, the maturation of the main characters of like joy, sadness, and Riley, especially, I think is exquisite. The introduction of Anxiety and how this character manifests itself in both the inner world of Riley's brain, but also how Riley interacts in the world, I found
Mhm.
to be extremely relatable and authentic. And having a teenage daughter the same age as Riley, from this movie, and I can't help draw so many lines of comparisons. So, like I said, this film really hit home for me, and I love that it's not just recycling the plot of the first film; it's bringing in new ideas and
Mhm.
putting characters in new environments, and it's what a sequel should be. Unlike a more recent Disney animated sequel, which will remain nameless, that's a tired retread,
Sloana.
Owana part deux, we'll call it, which I thought was just so boring and just a tired
Mhm.
retread. So, anyways, Inside Out 2, fantastic
That
movie.
was a very, very good sequel. I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Number 5 for me.
Yes.
Bird. Bird.
That was on my list of things to see.
Oh, dude.
I was like,
It
it was actually,
really.
honestly, it was either that or I watch Ghostlight, and I was like, I only have time to
Well,
watch one of these two movies.
yeah. So I'm a big Andrea Arnold fan,
Yeah.
and I've been anticipating this movie for a while now. And I'm so glad I got to see it before we did
Okay.
this, because this is one of those late ones that skyrocketed way up my list. I'd say the first third of the movie was a little tough for me to connect with. We have a newcomer here, Nikia Adams, who plays 12-year-old Bailey, doing incredibly deep work here. Looks amazing, is doing a wonderful job. So you can see every expression on their face, every thought. They wear it right on their sleeves, and they're doing so great. The story, I don't want to give too much away, but really I interpreted it as about guardian angels, and just when you're a kid and you need a guardian angel and how you learn to become that person for yourself. And Barry Keogh gives a great performance in it, but really I think Nike is the star. And it's a great return. I don't know that people will love it as much as they loved American Honey or Fish Tank, but
Mhm.
it's a great return.
Awesome.
Awesome.
It's I'm gonna check it out as soon as I can.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Sam, what is your number 5?
So my number 5, this is a controversial pick because this movie is so bonkers. And I don't know whether I like it or think it's nuts, or I don't still know to what to make of it, but I found it highly entertaining. I am referring to Megalopolis.
I liked it a lot.
I enjoyed this
I
film.
ride for it, baby.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that
Yes.
Megalopolis made somebody's list. It might be on someone else's, but that's so cool. I love it.
It's
All right.
so good.
I highly enjoyed it, and even though it's like I don't know how to describe this film at all, without giving it away, I found the closing, like the last scene with the kid on the stage and like the freezing of time. That's all I'll say. But like I found that moving and poignant somehow because it put this epic coda on this wild tale. Like that movie has so much thematic, insane ambition.
It's
and
so
some,
good.
like, so good and wildly over the top performances. I will still say the most unintentionally hilarious moment in that film, or perhaps intentional, is when she is literally talking to Adam Driver, and when she's like, Dad, he's a really good guy. Look, do you see any evil in him? And it cuts to this intense face of Adam Driver, and he's doing like a Kylo Ren stare. The whole entire audience burst out laughing in unison in that moment. It was brilliant.
For
Number
the
5.
listeners, Nathan and Sam were subjected to like a 10-minute voice note from me after seeing Megalopolis about how I'm pretty sure it falls in like the great Italian American canon. I think it's an awesome choice,
yeah.
Sam. I ride for Megalopolis. I'm so glad it made it onto a list.
Yes.
Definitely very memorable.
Everybody else is an idiot. I'm so sorry. You're wrong. This movie rules.
We know. We know what films are good. That's what we do.
You're welcome.
That's what we achieve at Back to the Frame Rate.
Well, I will say it did not make my top 10.
I thought about it.
Nor my top 20, but it does make a superlative category later on. I'll just tease that.
It definitely makes my top 15 and a superlative.
Okay. So number 4. We're in the number 4. Okay. My number 4 is Conclave.
Good movie.
This is another film I had no idea I was going to love as much as I would. The premise, when I heard about it, served absolutely no interest to me at all. I really thought this was going to be this
like
really
a Dan Brown
film with Christian politics and such. I'm not Christian. I'm like, I don't care about this at all. But this was really a straightforward mystery thriller. And I can't think of another film this year in which every scene, every line of dialogue, I was on the edge of my seat. And
most iconic vape hit of all time in a movie.
Oh my God. Pope's vaping, cardinal vaping is so cool. And these were just a bunch of cardinals in a room talking for 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's all this movie is.
Just a locked door mystery.
And the fact that this movie generates so much tension is a credit to the writing, Edward Berger's directing, who, and it's a shame if Berger doesn't get Best Director nomination, because who knows? I know it's a tight field all the time for Best Director, but without a doubt, one of the front runners for Best Actor is Ralph Fiennes as Cardinal Lawrence in this. He's put in charge of overseeing the conclave. I didn't even know what conclave meant before this. That's how much I know. And which apparently is what they do when a new pope is elected, which is all new to me. Hats off to Stanley Tucci as well. Always consistent. And I love seeing him. I'd love to see him get a supporting nomination. He's not going to, I'm guessing. Yeah. But great film. My biggest takeaway from this is that I can't wait to see what Edward Berger does next, because this and the last film he did All's Quiet in the Western Front a couple years ago, which was really, really great, epic war storytelling. I think he's great. I can't wait to see what he does next. So awesome film.
My biggest takeaway, Ralph Fiennes, hot no matter what, maybe.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know what movie I never saw of his from a couple years ago? I never saw The Menu.
Oh, good movie.
Yeah, I need to check that out because I heard that.
Didn't love it, but it was good.
Yeah.
I like Conclave better.
Your number 4.
I'm gonna go with Anora. Anora. You and I are both big fans of this director, and he comes out swinging with another great one. I thought this was really fun. I didn't expect it to be, and I don't know why, based on something, but I didn't expect it to be so funny. And I found myself rolling on the floor for a really good amount of this movie. It just had my partner and I in stitches for a lot of it. And then it would be, a hairpin turn, and it would be making us like break down. But as usual, there's something so real, something so tangible about these characters. This is a far cry from Pretty Woman, This is not that story, but this is a silly thing to say for a movie that I put so high, but I really loved the blocking in this movie. And it just was just that attention to detail in every scene and about every character, and to use it to tell such a wonderful story. And I thought it was great.
Great pick. All right, Sam, you're number 4.
So my number 4, which surprised me, as I feel like I was one of the 5 people that saw this, but Horizon: An American Saga, Chapter 1, the Kevin Costner film.
Yep.
Very uneven, but there was just some, I thought some of the scenes in this film had absolutely terrifying suspense. I liked the atmosphere for it. I'm kind of a sucker for Westerns. It does have lots of characters. It is a bit all over the place, but I just enjoyed the experience of watching it so much that I kind of surprised myself, and I will definitely be watching that film again. And I don't know if the second one has come out yet or if it's not coming out, but I'll be there if it does. Probably on streaming, I'm guessing. Yeah, but I enjoyed it.
this is the one reason why I never watched Horizon, because I'm scared. I heard it has kind of a cliffhanger.
It does,
And,
yeah.
and like, I'm worried we're never going to see any of these follow-up films. They're never going to see the light of day. Am I going to waste my time with 3 hours of a movie that's never going to see a conclusion? This worries me. I want to know that there's a release date for at least a second film before I invest 3
I
hours of
thought
my
that
time into
that
this.
part 2 was shot and like it just didn't do well, and the first one, and I think it might be coming out to streaming, but
The second one has, as far as I know, unless I read something different, it has no release date yet for anything, any streaming date, or
right.
it's not going to go to the theater, clearly.
Oh, for sure. I just mean like production. Like I think he filmed like a 2-part, like, both at the same time.
Well, he did, because they were supposed to come out in June and then like August back to back, which was
right. Yeah.
because no one's going to see the first one before the second one comes out, and like, what's the deal with that? I don't know.
Yeah, too close together. Yeah. But I mean, not perfect, but I really like the scenes have been sticking with me for a while, and I highly enjoy it. I'm surprised because I know it's not highly rated. It just struck with me for a reason.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Did you watch Yellowstone, Sam?
I haven't. No.
Okay. Yeah, I've only seen a little bit of it. This is really weird, but my cat loves it. It's like a horse cat. I'm serious. You can put it on in the background, and the cat's like glued to Yellowstone. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I wonder why that is. Interesting.
I don't know. Maybe he likes horses. Yeah. Dreams of running around. I don't know.
Well, I will check it out someday, because this is the movie that he threw Yellowstone away to do.
Exactly.
He walked away from this.
This was his passion project.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, and I was aware of him leaving Yellowstone. I hadn't seen it, but it was interesting. Surprised he left, but yeah.
Okay, so we're on to our number 3. And so when we did our top 5 at mid-year, this was my number 1 movie, and it fell down only a couple spots. So this movie is Love Lies Bleeding. This movie is my jam, up and down, left and right. Kristen Stewart, Katie O'Brien deliver standout performances. They breathe life into these characters that feel simultaneously like relatable and larger in life. The film belongs to one of my favorite genres, like stories about third-rate petty criminals. But there's also something really so compelling about these characters who inhabit the like margins of society, especially when set against gritty backdrops of the 1980s. These are people who dream big but live small, ordinary lives, but undermining themselves with poor decisions. I just love people that just live in this rut, So anyways, Rose Glass's direction just elevates this story, and it's just truly something extraordinary. I think that everything has this dreamlike quality to this. Every frame is drenched in vivid, saturated colors. So this movie has lingered with me all year. I love it so much. I've talked about this a lot on this podcast. I don't need to say anything more about it. And the funny thing is, this is number 3. This movie, my second and first movie, either one of these could be my favorite movie this year. It's the hardest thing to do is figure out which of these 3 is my favorite. If you were to ask me next week, Love Lies Bleeding could be my number 1 and, or could be number 2. All of these top 3 movies are all tied for first for me, honestly. That's what I'm going to say. It's so hard to pick.
Nathan.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Love Lies Bleeding. You put it much more spectacularly than I could have. You are, as per usual, much more eloquent than I would have been. But yes, there's something incredibly compelling about these characters that are just doing their best. If you support women's rights, you got to support women's wrongs. And this is that movie. Rose Glass, I'm so thrilled to see her back after Saint Maud. She's making great work. I can't wait to see what she puts out next. Yeah. I am a sucker for a touch of the surreal. This, as you mentioned, is a very grounded story but it is elevated not just by the color palette and the direction, but that sort of almost supernatural quality that
Ed Harris's hair too.
Yeah, and Ed Harris's hair. That's real brutal. This is one of those movies that I have come back to. When I could have been watching another new movie, I chose to watch this one again a couple of times because it's darn good. It's just darn good.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sam, what is your number 3?
So even though this was not as good as its predecessor, I am still such a huge fan of the
I know
saga,
what
the
this is.
world, and the atmosphere. I am, of course, talking about Sonic 3. No, just kidding. Uh, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga.
Sorry, I
I
believe it's pronounced Furiosa.
Not Furiosa, Furiosa. I highly enjoyed it. It is uneven in parts, that set piece in the middle where they're like on the rig and just that was spectacular. I thought it was an interesting film, not quite as successful a formula as obviously Fury Road, but enjoyable nonetheless, like a worthy addition, and it's sort of an oddly self-contained story. But the opening scene of that film, like the opening 20
Yeah.
minutes up to like the mother's death, I thought was just like amazing.
Yeah. I can't wait to watch this with a little more space, because I do have it so married to Fury Road, and it's really hard for me to divorce them.
And they're
But
two
I do think
different. Yeah,
they're totally different things, and I do think it's an incredible movie. But I've seen it, I had that opinion of it, and now I need to watch it again and sort of let it stand on its own merit. Cool performances in it.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I really wish it had done better at the box office, because I know that in
Yeah.
Waiting in the Wings was like
it's
Mad Max.
disappointing.
There was another one he was going to work on, and now because of that film, I don't know if it'll go into production. But
Well, he
never
finds
say
a
never.
way. He usually finds a way.
I did rewatch Furiosa about 2 weeks ago because as you just said, B, I think when we reviewed it early in the year, we watched all the Mad Max movies back to back to back.
Yeah, we were
Right.
immersed. Yeah.
We watched all 5 of them, and I feel like I got so much more out of it seeing it kind of standing alone. I enjoyed it so much more. I
Awesome.
enjoyed Chris Hemsworth so much more the second time because I thought it was kind of an odd performance, but like I thought he was a great villain. Seeing it the
Yes.
second time, I got a lot more of this the big awesome spectacle of it this time around, and yeah, I'd say I probably gave it like a 3.5 last time. It easily is a 4 for me now, if not better than that. It didn't make my top 10, but it's in my top 20 now, where what wouldn't have been if I hadn't rewatched it. But yeah, I think it's a great film. And it's I think it's a tragedy that it didn't do better than it did. It should have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely hear that.
So,
I highly enjoyed it.
all right, so we're on to our second picks, our number 2. So my number 2 was your number 4, B. It is Honora.
Hell yeah.
So I think I mentioned this a month or so ago. Sean Baker is 4 for 4.
Great.
Making movies that nobody else is doing.
Straight bangers.
It's probably 2 and not 1 because it's not my favorite Sean Baker movie. It's still the Florida Project for me.
Yeah, that's my favorite too.
Yeah, but he seems
Willem
to find
Dafoe.
this interesting niche telling stories about people once again inhabiting the margins of society, which I love. And in this case, it revolves around sex workers, and Honora is this woman who works out of this gentleman's club. Mikey Madison is so good in this. And it starts off as a Cinderella story, but once we get past that, my favorite part of this movie is the middle third of this, where I've read some discord online where people don't like this section of the movie where it's like this midnight madness like run through.
Oh, it's so fun.
Brooklyn, and like this is my favorite part of this movie because this is where it gets hysterical.
So funny.
And my favorite, I think one of my favorite characters in this is the guy that plays Toros, who is like this fixer for like the Russian oligarch, the family, who is just sweating out, trying to salvage.
He's like, this is just a job, man. I just got to figure this out. I like that the goons were just so apathetic.
So I wish he would get like a best supporting nomination. He won't, but again,
Let's go to Igor.
Yeah, there's so much to love about this movie. But yeah, you said already everything that needs to be said about this, but no, I was going to say, I don't know if you agree with this, B, but I'm trying to think, who does Sean Baker remind me of from like maybe another classic director? And do you think that he has like any common sensibilities of maybe like a John Cassavetes working in an independent scene, intimate character studies, emotionally raw performances? I'm just trying to like figure out like who is he, like the modern Cassavetes? Possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I have to think about it if there's any apt comparisons that are not Cassavetes, but yeah, I kind of like that.
Women on the Verge or what's
Yeah,
the
Faces. I could see him making kind of a Faces.
There's a similar spirit to their work, possibly. I thought about it.
I almost think kind of a little early Jarmusch too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
all right, so that's my number 2. What is your number 2, B?
My number 2, and like you said, my top 3 could move around and I'd be totally fine with it. But this one I've talked about on the pod a lot. I loved it. It comes in my favorite genre. And what a standout it became right away. Something salvaged Q1 this year, and it was The First Omen.
Nice.
Yeah, you how much you like that.
Oh my God, it's so friggin' good. There's a scene in this movie, I don't know if either of you seen it, but I have no idea how she got that past the censors and to be shown in major movie houses. It's incredible and graphic. And, I think I said in an earlier review of it, it uses the Omen series to scaffold this very strong story around, but it is not beholden to it. It elevates it and stands on its own 2 feet. Wonderfully done. I could go on. It's super.
Okay.
If you see one, and there was a lot of scary movies this year, but if you see one horror movie, this should be the horror movie you see.
All right. I need to check it out. I do.
It's so good. It's so good. Just more Catholicism for you. Just take it.
All right. Sam, what is your number 2?
My number 2 is Dune Part 2. I thought it was brilliant. I thought Denis Villeneuve did a great job. What you were saying about it, Nathan, like 100% agree. The movie definitely grew on me as well with a few viewings, and I think it's an epic, it's spectacularly well done, and well done.
Dune.
And I cannot wait to see Dune Messiah. So many of you have seen Dune Part 2, but if you haven't, make sure to see the first one, watch the second one. The 2 films together.
You should all go see it together.
Masterful epic.
Fantastic. All right. It is time for our number 1. So we can do
drum roll, please.
I have no sound effect for it. Maybe I'll put it in later. All right. So my number 1 from 2024 is The Substance. So,
wow. Rock and roll.
Awesome.
Yep. So like I said, this past year selected my number 1 film. It's usually not a difficult thing. I usually know every year easily what my number 1 film is, but this year I tormented because, like I said, between Anora, Love Lies Bleeding, and Substance, every single day it was a different film in my number 1. So any one of these could be in my number 1. So I love all 3 of these films. But I will say though, of these 3 films,
something stands out for you.
Well, no, what I want to say is of all these 3 films, I feel like, no, forget it. I don't know what I'm going to say. I think I'll talk about the year in general later on. So I thought this was the most balls to the wall, absolutely gung-ho, 0 fucks given film of the year. This is why maybe it's resting at number 1. Demi Moore, I think it just gives a career resurrecting performance in this.
Won the Golden Globe.
Yeah. Last night, yeah. I didn't watch it, by the way. I watched Kunk on Life instead because that was more fun.
It was so fun, wasn't it? I loved Kunk on Life.
Yeah. So I just love it. Like this movie goes to some insane places. And I think what I love is just when you think this movie's kind of like plateaued, it goes to even more extreme measures. And it's got some weird, crazy body horror going on. And it's saying a lot about the entertainment industry and how it treats and objectifies women. Dennis Quaid, where's he been the last couple of years. He's been like playing like all these like spiritual like movies and like family films.
Good
And
to have
he
you back, Danny.
and now he's playing this TV producer of one of the most grotesque and appalling representations of a male character I've seen in so long. But he's like this amalgamation of like toxic masculinity, misogyny, and sexual gatekeeping that goes on in the industry. And it's just this incredible film that I'd say is the closest thing also to a David Cronenberg film that we've had in a long time as well. So I love this movie.
That's a fun comparison.
And
Yeah.
yes, I'm pumped. I'm going to watch it again tonight.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Substance. All right. You're number 1B.
Well, Nathan, you mentioned balls to the wall.
Okay.
Challengers.
Okay.
It reigns supreme for me. I can't get it or the soundtrack out of my head. I think it rockets these three to superstardom. You can Zendaya already there, but I think this gave her a chance to really chew on scenery and perform in a way I haven't seen her perform before. Everybody, forgive the pun, is knocking it out of the park in this. We talked about the cinematography. I don't have a ton more to say about it other than I was so excited. Luca, not a director I'm always on the same page with, but this one just struck me at the right time. And God, did I love it. It's so fresh and new and exciting, and it's got fresh faces in it, and it's doing new things. And I saw things in this movie that I had never seen done on film. And that is great. I'll take that away from it.
Awesome.
Love
it. All right, Sam, you get the last pick.
Dun, dun, dun.
You're number 1.
So this is technically a cheat, but I had to put it at number 1. I just had to because
It's gonna be the beekeeper.
There was there was no other number 1 for me.
Bobby Zemeckis is here.
It's cheating, but it's because it's technically not a movie, but it was incredibly cinematic. I'm referring to Rings of Power Season 2 is my number 1 media of 2024. That blew me away more than anything I have seen so far this year.
We're going with a TV show?
Yeah. It's
fine.
I can't help it just because it just flanks the other ones on the list for me. I thought it was amazing, incredible. Lots of trolling on online and stuff, but I could not recommend this incredible show more. Visually spectacular, well acted, and just amazing. So that has to be my number 1, even though it's technically not a film, but it's as cinematic as it gets for me this year.
Well, it's too bad because we were going to rename the podcast to Technically a Movie, and
that's awesome. I'm so glad with season 2 more than I was with season 1. I really feel like I understand where they're going. It made me more excited for season 3. I'd like you to meet my Lego Legolas. I made Sam.
Oh, nice, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, visual effects like the most spectacular. Like it just unbelievable. Yeah.
I actually I've been behind, and I just started season 2 actually of Rings of Power. So I watched episode 1, so I was highly impressed with the first episode. So
you're in for a treat.
You will definitely enjoy it. It's far more focused than season 1. It just was like taut and suspense, so you'll like it.
Yeah, there was a couple episodes, at least one episode in season 1 was like where I felt we were stuck in with the where were we at? I don't know. There was an episode that felt kind of like meandered, or one or two of them, but I'm excited about
season 1 was uneven for me too. I totally hear that. Yeah,
I think we were with the dwarves a little too long. Maybe is what it was. I don't know. Anyways, okay. Well, that is it. Let's round this out here. So my list, mine from 10 to 1. I had Dune Part 2, Challengers, The Wild Robot, Will and Harper, Ghostlight, Inside Out 2, Conclave, Love Lies Bleeding, Honora, and The Substance. Do you guys have yours written down? Or should
I do. I got it.
Where's yours be?
Dahomey, Alien Romulus, I Saw the TV Glow, Nosferatu, The Piano Lesson, Bird, Honora, Love Lies Bleeding, The First Omen, and Challengers.
Yes, and we're going from 10 to 1. Everyone listening. Yep. And Sam, what is yours from?
So 10 was Wolves, Alien Romulus, Bad Boys, Ride or Die, September 5th, the film, and
Not the
I can't-
dead.
yeah, and 6 Deadpool and Wolverine, 5 Megalopolis, 4 Horizon Part 1 an American Saga, 3 Furiosa, 2 Dune Part 2, 1 Rings of Power Season 2.
Nice. Okay.
Can I give some honorable mentions? Do we want to do that?
Yeah, sure. Let's throw a few honorable mentions in there. What do you got?
Sure. So I've got 3 or 4 here that I think they didn't quite crack the top 10 for me, but they're super interesting and I think listeners should check them out. The first is Problemista. This was a really fun film by, I think it's Julio Torres, and it was just interesting and fresh and smart. Really just smart filmmaking with kooky, fun performances and more stuff that I hadn't really seen done on screen before. It's daring and exciting, and I look forward to whatever Julio does next because I've enjoyed it all up until now. And another thing was, keeping with that sort of somewhat surrealist theme, is The Beast with Leia Seydoux.
Mm-hmm.
That had made some ripples, and I want to watch it again. I want to let it soak in. It is a very long movie, but it was a cool concept, a little Eternal Sunshiny, but I liked it.
All right. Great. Sam, do you have any honorable mentions?
Honorable mention was, it's like in the festival circuit, it technically doesn't get a release until 2025. So it's The Old Guy, directed by Simon West.
Oh, yeah, you
Starring
talked about that.
Christoph Waltz and, oh my God, I'm blanking on Philip Seymour Hoffman's son's name. He's the co-star. Excellent. Cooper Hoffman, I think his name is. Just
Yes.
really, he showed chops in this film. I enjoyed it, and well done. It came out in 2024, but I think it gets a theatrical release or a streaming release sometime this spring.
Okay.
Awesome. I'll check it out.
We'll mention just a couple. I mentioned it last episode, so I'm not going to dwell on it now. I loved The Outrun with Saoirse Ronan. I praised that last episode, so I'm not going to go on that. But a movie that just missed my top 10 that I really am sad that didn't make it was Late Night with the Devil, which I loved. I praised that movie also. I think that was in my top 5 at the mid-year point as well. That is, it's like this faux late night show.
I still didn't see it, but that's another early horror movie from this year, right?
David Dastmalchian. Yeah, it's kind of David Dastmalchian is this late night talk show host, and there's like this. It's kind of like invaded by with this spirit that that is going. It's all done in real time. It's like this lost episode that is uncovered. It's a really, really interesting movie. I've never seen anything like it before. I highly recommend it. I think it might be my 11 or 12 if we did a top, if we did a top 20. So I really liked it. Sad that I didn't make it. You might laugh. I loved it. Twisters was probably my top 15.
Hey, if you feel it.
I know.
Sure, sir.
Yeah. I really had a great time with Twisters. And until it's probably the last month and a half of this year where I started watching some of the Prestige pictures, it might have made my top 10. I had that much fun with it.
It went way up on a rewatch for me. Super fun.
Yeah. And I think the last thing I'll mention is came out really early in this year. And at the time I was kind of mixed on it. I liked it, didn't love it. But in light of where we are in the world right now, I think Civil War is a pretty good film. I want to watch it again. And I'm kind of maybe hesitant to, but there's so much about that movie that I think is really good in that film. And I'm curious now, in light of where we are post-election, how that film will land with me now. But I like Alex Garland a lot. And I think that maybe it wasn't the movie we thought we were getting.
Right.
So I think it is worth another shot in that, and it probably would make my top 20 now.
If you want a journalist movie, you could also watch Lee, the Kate Winslet Passion Project, which was good. I liked it.
I like Alex Garland as a director. I personally was really really disappointed in Civil War. But I will say the scene in the middle of the film with Jesse Plemons, shout out to his terrifying performance. Like that scene, had that moment been extended into a more major part of the film, I would have loved it. But like that scene, I absolutely loved.
Yeah. I like that. I like Kaylee Spaney. Hey, great year for Kaylee Spaney. So.
Yeah, it had nothing to say. It was just like shock value. But like I did like that middle scene.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back with a couple of our other superlatives.
You open the beaches on the 4th of July, it's like ringing the dinner bell, for Christ's sake.
Mr. Vaughn, I pulled a tooth the size of a shot glass out of the wrecked hull of a boat out there, and it was the tooth of a great white.
It was Ben Gardner's boat. It was all chewed up. I helped tow it in. You should have seen him.
Where is that tooth?
Did you see it, Rod? No, I didn't see it. He dropped it.
I had an accident.
Way in.
And what did you say the name of this shark is?
It's a Carcharodon carcharius. It's a great white.
But you don't have the tooth.
Thank you for tuning into our podcast. Over the years, your support has meant the world to us, and we're so grateful for the journey you've shared with us together. If you've enjoyed our episodes, you can visit them anytime by visiting backtotheframerate.com. You can also follow us on social media at Back to the Frame Rate on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter to stay connected. Your encouragement and enthusiasm have been the heart of this podcast, and we can't thank you enough for being part of our story. Okay, let's get to a few of our superlatives here. You know, the first thing I want to do, you guys remember the beginning of this year? I know, a long time ago. It was about a year ago.
Been a long year.
We did our 2024 movie predictions, anticipations of what our favorite movie, what we were looking forward to this year. Pretty much, we made a top 10 list. See, it might jog anyone's memory. Maybe. Well, I have this here, and I want to read it to you and find out if any of these movies landed on your top 10. All right.
Okay. Let's go.
This should be kind of fun here. All right, Sam, your top 10 movies that your most anticipated films of 2024 were Furiosa, which did make your top 10, Dune Part 2, Deadpool. Well, it was called Deadpool 3 back then. Civil War, Inside Out 2, which you didn't get to, A Quiet Place Day 1.
Haven't seen it. Yeah.
Twisters, Alien Romulus, Beetlejuice 2, became Beetlejuice, and Gladiator 2. So how do you feel about you actually hit on a lot of these here? Several of these ended up in your top 10.
I hit on a few of them. Yeah, it was not bad. It's when those movies are marketed at the beginning of the year, sometimes some of them appear bigger than they are, but you never know what you're going to get.
It's so hard because we only know about the big tentpole releases in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
And to your earlier point, right? Like, we're not critics or anything that would know necessarily a lot of the stuff that's going to come out. And I don't get to follow as closely to movie news as I would like to. Sometimes I feel like I live under a rock. I mean, I watch them, but other than that, not a lot I can do.
I hear that.
B, are you ready for your 10 most anticipated films?
Yeah.
All right, here it is. Beetlejuice 2.
Good movie.
Bob Marley, the one I love. Oh, One Love, not the one I love.
I have blacked that movie out. Bad movie. Lashana Lynch goddess, though. Amazing.
The Book of Clarence.
Didn't get to it.
All right. Drive Away Dolls.
Bad movie.
Gladiator 2.
Fine.
The Bike Riders.
We'll talk about it.
Dune Part 2.
Good movie. Great movie.
Mickey 17, which got delayed. It's coming out. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. And two more. Furiosa, of course.
Great movie.
Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim.
I haven't watched that, and I'm so bummed that I haven't watched it. It feels almost like 14-year-old me would really punch me in the face for that move.
All right. And my 10 movies were Civil War, which I told you didn't meet my expectations. Drive-Away Dolls, which we're going to get to that.
We just had
Alien
Love Lives Bleeding instead.
yeah, Alien Romulus, which I did like a lot. Furiosa, Dune Part 2 did make my top 10. The Bike Riders, we'll get to that. Deadpool 3, I had a great time with that. Mickey 17, delayed. Another movie here, Alto Nights, got delayed as well. I think that's coming out in a month or two as well.
So cool.
And Sam, you'll appreciate this phrase, Horizon Part 1 and 2, because I thought they were both coming out this past summer. So I didn't watch, obviously, Horizon.
Little did we know what was going to happen in the summer of 2024.
You
my
know,
God.
exactly, yeah. So that was our movie predictions, our anticipated films of 2024. So yeah,
we did a good job.
We did pretty good anticipating what might make our list here. But
I feel like my list this year was better than my 2023 list. I feel like it was more on point.
I like your list. You had a lot of movies that I was like, yeah, that's a good one. Didn't quite make them for me for all of them, but I like them.
Hear that.
So, B or Sam, was there a surprise this year? What would be your biggest surprise if you had one? It could be something that was already mentioned as well, but.
Oh man.
I've got one. Yeah. Amelia Perez.
Okay.
Have any of you seen it?
No, I know about it. I just haven't had a chance.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect going in, and I'm kind of all over the map with this movie. One day I think it's, I'm thinking about it with a very high opinion. Another day, really not. I think some of the performances salvaged what was otherwise not always a great story. But it was genuinely a surprise, not knowing what it was going into it. Everything about that movie, stylistically, the plot, everything was a surprise for me. And it was fun and engaging to watch. So yeah, I appreciate a big swing, whether or not it always knocks it out of the park. I like a big swing. I think people should watch it.
Did that just win some Globes? I think it won.
I think it did for some of the performances. I know Zoe Saldana won.
Good. I got to check that one out.
And she was great in the movie.
I was going to say, even though it's not about a film, it's the film itself, but I was really surprised by the box office of Furiosa. Like, I didn't think it was going to be the biggest hit, but I did not see it just like choking in dirt like that and just not doing well. Like that was, I thought it was going to be the big sequel to, Furiosa. Like I had no idea.
And maybe I'm in a bubble, but I really thought Mad Max had more of a following, especially after Fury Road.
Yeah, me too.
So I was really surprised that public opinion was able to control the narrative so quickly on that one. I think it got panned really fast and then just went nowhere. And it just felt like people didn't even give it a shot. And I can't exactly say I helped with a ton, but at least be curious about it. Go see it for yourself.
Exactly.
Fury Road was not the giant box office mega smash hit that people think it was. I mean, did it win Best Picture, or am I thinking something else? Or was it?
It was nominated, I think. Yeah, it didn't win, but
I don't think it won.
Was it Revenant, or it was up there? It was up there. I'm blanking, but it isn't that big. People think like it's $1 billion movie. It's not even close to that.
No, but it gained such a cult following since its release.
It did, but it's not even remotely. It's a completely different movie than Fury Road. It is. Fury Road is the most simple plot. Go from A to B back to A.
Most Mad Max movies.
It is, and Furiosa is really an anomaly in the franchise. It is the biggest epic of all of the movies, and I think that's what kind of. What's funny is it's not like people went to see it and then like you saw like a 70% drop the next week. People just completely shunned it from day one. And maybe it's because like, I don't want to see Chris Hemsworth in this whole thing. Or they're like, people from day one, like, we don't want to see this story. We want to see Mad Max. And maybe that's what it was. It's from the very moment, from the
Yeah,
marketing.
I don't know if it was like the woman lead, because people love Anya Taylor-Joy. So I was surprised that the sort of superstardom didn't sort of help it limp through.
She's not that big as, I mean, she's well known, but I don't know. She's not opening movies,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not surprised it didn't do fantastic. I'm just shocked how much it tanked.
Yeah.
Some people
yeah.
said that if like it, and I'm glad they went the route they did, but that if it had Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy in it, that it might have had more of a box office draw, But like,
I'm sure
yeah.
it would. I think people
I think the
wanted.
movie would have suffered though.
Oh,
but I
for
think,
sure. Oh yeah, I think I'm just talking. Yeah, I like how it was, but yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying, Nathan? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, there's nothing else. I think people, I think the Discord was, or what the fanboys wanted was Fury Road 2. That would have been what people think they wanted. It probably would not have been as good as a movie, but that's what, people always want more of the same thing. That's what the majority of people want.
People probably would have said like, oh, it's just the same thing again.
Yeah, there was
right.
I'll just say my biggest surprise was Hundreds of Beavers. Actually, I'll say I want that to come up somewhere in this podcast, that this was something that was done for almost no money at all. Not no money at all, but just done on an independent film budget.
Looney Tunes.
It is a Looney Tunes cartoon come to life. So much fun. It is not a perfect movie. It did not make my top 20, but I just want to mention it here because I think I want, independent creators to do more things like this. Just have the guts to create something as insane as this, and you never know when it's going to stick. In this movie, somehow, on a very small budget, made it into the mainstream to some degree. It did. It's on big streaming platforms. It had a theatrical release. It is the dream. It is the success of filmmakers like myself, like you, Sam, that to create something on such a small budget and then have it explode like this. This movie's made millions and millions of dollars on, I think, $100,000 budget. It is an incredible story, and it is so funny, and it's so creative and witty and well done. So
absolutely,
I'm in awe of this, and it came out of nowhere. So yes, biggest surprise for me was this movie.
So fun.
Yeah. This will be a fun one. B, what is your biggest disappointment?
I feel like I have a 3-way tie for this.
I have a 3-way tie too.
Obviously, it's Bike Riders for me. I was so jazzed for this movie and so bummed about the result of it. I did not find a whole lot redeeming in this film. And it's not that it's not a serviceable movie. I think if I went back and watched it, I'd probably be like, yeah, it's fine. It's a good movie. But I think I was so excited for it that it fits into that disappointment category. Because my expectations and anticipation was running really high. The other two that are big disappointments for me, I actually didn't have the same anticipation for, but I like probably less than I like Bike Riders, is Here and Night Bitch. I did not like her.
I was going to check out Night Bitch at some point, but no.
It wasn't for me.
Okay. All right.
Seems divisive, but
I have a 3-way tie, but I think above all that is, I said it before, Driveway Dolls, which because we have got
not a good movie.
I think it's is it Joel or Ethan Coen? I'm getting them mixed up now. Which one did this? I
don't remember.
But I want to find out. Because it's Ethan Coen. Joel Coen did like Tragedy Macbeth, which I loved. Really well done. This is the first thing that Ethan Coen has done since he went solo. So I had high expectations for this. I thought this was going to be kind of that in the world of like Raising Arizona or something like that. I thought we were going to get that kind of humor, that kind of like, much like we had with, what's the movie I love?
Love Lies Bleeding.
Love Lies Bleeding. I thought that's the movie we were going to get, but we didn't. And this, it just didn't work for me.
Just a flaccid dildo.
And Matt Damon in this, I don't know what he is doing in this movie. It's just, the storytelling just didn't work for me. I don't know. What can I say? So, but the 3-way tie is also Bike Riders was on this. I think Bike Riders I might give another shot sometime, because I think Bike Riders is a well done movie. It just didn't reach my expectations for it, but it's so like it's a little bit of Goodfellas, it's a little bit of something else, and like its derivative felt like other things, and it just didn't feel like it all was cohesive enough for me. But I don't think it's a bad movie. I just wanted something little more from it. So I don't know. The other movie is, and it really is not. I don't know if it probably shouldn't be a disappointment because I had a feeling that I wasn't going to like the movie. But I love Yorgos Lanthimos. But I watched Kinds of Kindness, and I was just like, "What the fuck is this?"
That's also what happened when I watched Kinds of Kindness. Yeah.
Well, and I have not walked out of one of his movies with like feeling that way ever. And it was the first time I can say I did not enjoy this movie. So,
yeah, you and I are sicko Lanthimos completionists, and it's a rocky road if you want to watch every one of his movies. It's a bumpy ride.
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah. Okay. So, but I'd say Drive Away Dolls is the top of that heap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sam.
Anything?
Samuel Cole.
I'd say for me, I didn't hate the movie. Like I think I'd give it like 2 or 2.5. But for me, I had different expectations with Civil War, and I remember that was heavily marketed in the spring, and I was really looking forward to it. I didn't dislike it. It was just a different experience that I was kind of expecting with some really good moments, but that was a surprise for me, a slight disappointment, even though I would revisit it for sure, just not right away, but I will definitely watch it again, and who knows, maybe my opinion will change.
Yeah, that's the thing about a disappointment, right? Doesn't mean it's like your least favorite, it's just the one that didn't match your expectations.
Well, let's pivot right away, Sam. If there was something this year that you would give a chance and watch again, what would it be? Because that's our next category. Maybe you didn't love it. Maybe you love it, but that's what this category is.
I did not love Twisters. I thought it was pretty good, and I would watch that again, absolutely, because I feel like I would have more fun with it. It's also, again, movies with no expectations, and I love Twister, the 1996 film. Like, love, such fond memories. But I liked Twisters. I remember giving it a relatively positive review, but I would definitely see it again. It's been a while. It's been a while. I saw it the one time in the theater. Like, I'm due for another viewing.
It's fun. If you feel it. If you're feeling it, go chase it.
Go chase it.
Why not?
B, do you have anything that you are, maybe it wasn't your jam, but you were like,
okay, like that deserves a second watch.
Yeah, deserves another shot.
Yeah, this movie actually was my jam, but I think it's only going to continue to go up on rewatches, was A Monkey Man. So fun.
That's my pick too.
Yeah, it was so fun. This didn't feel, it obviously comes from John Wick and a lot of Kung Fu movie, and it's from that school of thought, but it didn't feel derivative. It just felt studied and smart and interesting and fresh, and I want to see more of it. I liked it a lot, and it's been kind of on my brain, and I feel like I'm ready to give it another watch.
Yeah, I watched this. It came out over the summer, I think June or July. I remember watching this, and I think I was just so exhausted seeing this, and this movie pounded me into submission.
Yeah,
I remember, and this movie deserves another watch for me. The other movie I might put on this is a movie that I know you love, and I probably don't know why I don't love it, and that is, I Saw the TV Glow. Because this has been on so many people's top 10 lists. I'm like, I probably should give it another shot. So,
it's okay,
I want to. Okay, another category I want to see here is,
what can you not wait to repeat?
Yeah, what can you not wait to repeat? Yeah, that's another category. Yeah. Anything you can't wait to watch again, Sam?
Rings of Power season 2, like hands down.
Fuck yeah.
I'll watch it again.
In your power, Sam.
I appreciate it. I will watch it again, probably right before season 3 comes out.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Okay,
it's good. It's good.
What's your pick?
Terrifier 3.
No, really?
Nice.
Yeah. I'm down to clown. What can I say? I had a great time with the franchise. I love a spooky movie. I love a gore fest. Big fan of those. So yeah, give me.
I have a
give me
feeling I
more
will
art.
enjoy those. I have not seen a single one, but I saw a trailer and I was hooked. So I have a lot of movies to
I
watch.
feel like you'll like the second one the best, but you know.
Interesting. Now I have to see it because I want to know what you mean by that. I'm looking forward to it.
You know, I don't really have a good answer for this, but
Is it also Terrifier 3?
no?
Because that's a great answer. Just no bias.
Oh,
Honestly,
I know. It's got to be If, right?
Actually, I might want to see Dune Part 2 again because I feel like I need to. I really loved that movie and might actually move up higher on my list once I see it again. So yeah, yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that. I remember you had second thoughts when you first saw it. Like I'm happy it improved. Like
Yeah, well, it has totally.
I hear that.
All right, next category. Okay, what is everyone's least favorite movie? Not the movie you hated the most, but what is your least favorite? Because we're a positive podcast here. Movie of 2024.
Man, God, I really don't know on. That's a conundrum for me because
Oh, go ahead, Sam.
no, I was just gonna say I have ones that I like dislike, but they're not like least favorite is too. I don't know. You go ahead. I gotta think.
The movie you loved the least, or the movie.
Yeah.
That was a nice way.
Yeah.
You don't want to offend any
So,
of these people.
like
Sam,
I
you
said
know.
earlier, this year didn't hit the highs that last year hit for me. But I had like a lot of lows this year. And I actually had a lot of movies competing for this particular super. But I landed on Strange Darling, which I think is a little bit controversial, but I didn't get it. I don't think it was a good movie. Talking about Art the Clown and Gore Fest, I like that. I liked Love Lies Bleeding. It's not a genre issue for me. I didn't like the style of it. I didn't like the stilted acting. I know that can be a style that some directors employ. I don't think it worked here. I thought the twist was predictable and barely a twist. I went into it kind of expecting like a mid-level horror film, and I walked away from it just pretty unimpressed. Didn't like it at all. And there are a lot of movies that I thought were on that same low level for me where I just was not engaged with it. But Strange Darling was the one that I thought took the least big swing, made it the least interesting to not like, if that makes sense.
Okay. That was on several people's top 10 lists.
I know. I think there's just something I'm missing.
Yeah.
But
I actually had a three-hander here as well, but I think the one that I have to go with, the honorable mentions for this, I'll say by the way, are Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, which is just stupid anyway, so that doesn't deserve
I
to be
forgot to put that on my watch list. Yeah, I did see that.
It doesn't even deserve to be mentioned. Tarot, which I saw, which is just bad all the way around. But a movie that really deserves this trophy because it is, I think, earnestly trying to be a good movie, but it's just terrible, is Argyle.
Oh, wow. I totally forgot about that film's existence until you just mentioned it. Yeah.
Is just so bad. And I think this movie thinks it's supposed to be a genuinely good movie, and it's supposed to tie into the Kingsman universe as well. So it's trying to also set itself up for a franchise, and it's ambitious, but it just falls flat in every way possible. So absolutely Argyle, I say, is my least favorite film of 2024. Congratulations.
That's so funny.
Oh, I remember the trailer for that, like way back, and I was like,
the CGI cat.
The CGI cat, yep.
Yeah.
And Sam Rockwell is in that, isn't he? I remember that.
I do think he does a good job in it.
Interesting.
Okay. Sam, did you have something, or are you?
Honestly, I didn't. I don't think I've like seen enough movies to be disappointed.
Okay,
I gotta just drop it. Yeah, sorry.
We'll
Can't believe none of us have chosen Joker.
Because I actually
I haven't seen it.
Joker is a pretty punk rock movie.
Yeah.
I
I get that.
I don't love it, but I kind of dig what it's
I
trying
kind
to
of
do.
dig the middle finger that he's given.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 more categories here. I think we can knock out here. What is the we didn't get it movie of 2024? A film that is heavily praised that just didn't resonate with us.
Juror number 2.
I have to say Civil War. Sorry. I really don't hate that movie either. It's irksome.
B, you said juror number 2.
Yeah,
But
if that fits.
I mean, it kind of does it, but it's been kind of divisive as well. Your opinion on it is not is I've heard a lot of people either love it or hate it. So
I would also say I would say Wicked then. If that is more of a highly praised.
you can say anything you want.
Yeah, all right.
What do you want to say?
I don't know.
I'm not
It's
going
fine.
to Tombstone, so I mean,
That's true. Juror number 2.
okay.
Just throw Clint Eastwood out of this. Fine. What's yours?
I don't know because I think I forgot to make a.
Burn!
I think I forgot to fill this one out. Film that. Well, I'm gonna have to just wing it here.
Keep this in.
Yeah.
It's good.
I guess I have to go back to I Saw the TV Glow. It's on so many
Yeah.
best of lists, and it should have. I feel like it's catnip for me, and it just did not.
Hey, sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
You know?
Another movie that I don't know if this qualifies as a 2024 release. It is. I'm seeing it on some, even though it didn't get a U.S. U.S. release until this year, but it came out last year. What was the Wim Wenders film?
Perfect Days.
Perfect Days. See, that came out
I like that a lot.
only in the U.S. this year, and that's a movie I need to rewatch
My top
again
20.
at some point because I've actually seen it on some top 10 lists of this year because it didn't come to the United States, I don't think, until this year. And that's a movie that that should be in my top 10.
I loved it. Yeah.
But I guess I will stick with I Saw the TV Glow. Yeah. Okay, so I think is this our last? This might be our last category. Oh, well, we'll see. They didn't get it award. So this is a movie, a film that is heavily panned that we loved.
Megalopolis.
We're all Megalopolis on this one, I bet.
Megalopolis, Meg. I'll put Meg in here, not the Meg, but
The Meg Part 2.
This is probably would be one of my picks, but honestly, I don't begrudge people for not liking Megalopolis. There's plenty of reasons why people don't like it, and I get it.
Yeah, they're virgins. It's a good fucking movie. It's a good movie.
So I'm going in a different direction for this. The Fall Guy. I think.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I saw The Fall Guy about a month ago.
Did not deserve the hate.
No, it did not. Fall Guy did not make my top 20, but I like this movie so much. It's a movie about making movies. It is so funny. It's a rom-com. It's got some of the best action I saw all year. I think Ryan Gosling is so funny. Emily Blunt is so funny in this. How this movie did not open up the big movie season, making a big splash, is beyond me. This movie bombed, was dead on arrival, which is beyond me. Much like Furiosa, much like a lot of movies this year.
May 2024 was like really box office odd. Like a lot of movies didn't do well. Yeah.
Q2 was just not what we thought it would be.
But this movie also got good reviews. People that saw this movie liked this movie.
I
want to see it. I haven't seen it. I will watch it.
You would love it, Sam.
You would.
I know I would. Yeah.
It's all about the movie industry. It is so good. It's so funny,
and it's really well done.
Action. It is so good.
But I do think of a lot of these movies that we've talked about tonight, Fall Guy is going to be the one that has the staying power. I think in 10, 15 years when people just want to throw on a movie, I can see Fall Guy being something that people watch kind of over and over.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is really good. I'm shocked, why how this did not do better. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good for our categories here. Any last other films you want to just mention, or you feel good about anything we talked about here?
A Real Pain. Go see it. Evil Does Not Exist.
Evil
Check it
Does Not
out.
Exist. That lingered in my top 20
Top
for a
15.
while.
Yeah, it wasn't as good as the previous, but yeah, check it out.
Is that the same guy that did Drive My Car, or am I thinking?
Yes, which I
Yes.
love. That's my Drive My Car
Yeah.
poster in the back. One of my favorite movies of all time. Good, just more slow cinema is good. I can't wait to see Chime. I can't wait to see Nickel Boys. I can't wait to see Janet Planet. There's more good stuff coming our way. But
shout out to Lisa Frankenstein. I love this year.
Yeah,
I just want to say that Hitman. Surprised how good that was. I'll say. And
Glenn Powell, hell of a year.
yeah. And last thing, I'll say one other one, and then I'm gonna shut up about movies for the year. I can't think of it now.
I will say briefly, I liked Land of Bad with Liam Hemsworth and Russell Crowe. I enjoyed that. What came out way early in the year, but that was a fun action movie. Russell Crowe's performance was great. I went into that with zero expectations, and that certainly helped. But it was very old school, felt like 80s pacing. I enjoyed it.
There's been a few of those this year.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah,
you're like, yeah, I like it.
Exactly.
I think that's about it. Okay,
cool.
I'm good.
Go watch movies. Just 2025. Keep watching movies.
Watching movies. That's right.
Go to the theater. Support your theater.
Okay.
Support your local one.
All right. Let's take one more quick little break, and we'll come back with our special announcement, and we'll wrap up the show.
You just listen to the old Pork Chop Express here now and take his advice on a dark and stormy night when the lightning's crashing and the thunder's rolling and the rain's coming down in sheets thick as lead. Just remember what old Jack Burton does when the earth quakes and the poison arrows fall from the sky and the pillars of heaven shake. Yeah, Jack Burton just looks that big old storm right square in the eye and he says, "Give me your best shot, pal. I can take it."
You know, if I ever were to
Big trouble.
have changed the outro of our podcast instead of
Emil for
Tombstone,
Sister.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that would have been the outro quote.
That's a great.
I love Big
that
Trouble.
quote.
Love Big Trouble.
Jack Burton.
Jack Burton.
It's no Snake Plissken, but it's pretty good.
He's got so many great characters. So
There was a Jack Burton hang on guys, I'm here, it's all set, a Jack Burton for President 2024 t-shirt that was circulating around at one point, and I was like, you know what, I'm down.
That's pretty good.
all right, so it is time. We just need to make an announcement that's very important about the podcast, Back to the Frame Rate. So here we are, our 99th episode. So this is, hard to talk about, but we have made the decision that we are going to move on from this podcast. And the 100th episode is going to be our final show, our final episode. Yeah, I mean, there's several reasons for doing this. We have a lot going on in our lives, and the podcast is a lot of work. I probably put at least 18 hours a week into every episode. So, me, nobody cares about that. I know, but it's a lot of, over the last 2 years, this has been an incredible journey. I've had so much fun doing this. It has been my dream for 15 years to host a movie review podcast. And it's been everything and more doing this. But it is, it's time to turn the page and do some other things. As we've talked about on here, you and me, Sam, we work in the industry, and I've sacrificed my career for this podcast, and I have that itch again, to get back into the saddle of writing and producing. And I've got some opportunities coming up this year that there'd be no way I would be able to immerse myself wholeheartedly into it and balance a podcast with it. It's the reason why I shut down my last podcast, my ABC is a Rock, so that I could get back into it. But, I'll never say, I hate to say it's the end. say never say never. You know what? You never know what happens a year from now. And I keep the feeds active all the time. But right now we are going to say goodbye. This is not the last episode. Next episode is our live show Galaxy Quest
100th episode.
And I can't wait for that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But I think it's appropriate that we share that this is going to be what it is right now. So, yeah.
100 episodes, very impressive, a good run, a quality show.
Yeah.
Most podcasts only last between 7 to 10 episodes. Which is because pod fade sets in. Podcasting, to maintain a podcast is a lot of work. It's hard. And I don't think when people start a show, they realize how much work it is and how hard it is. I've now produced 170 plus episodes of podcasts, and or something like that. It's so yeah, I'm pretty seasoned at this now. So I might do another one at some point down the road. Definitely don't unsubscribe to this feed, because there could always be updates about the status of other events or other shows that any of us might be involved in. So yeah. And all this, the great thing about what we do here is all these shows that we've done the last year and a half it's films that are available on VOD and streaming. And you can go back and listen to these, and they're a lot of fun. And
I had a great time chatting movies with you guys.
Yeah, and
I
also
don't
we
work
had
in
to
the
have.
industry.
No, I was going to say we had to have so many episodes too, because we had to survive. We were in a nuclear fallout, whereas other shows may have faltered. We had no choice because we had to keep morale up while we were locked up in that bunker. Now there's a single like bird flying around outside, and we think the air is less toxic, so we're gonna risk going out into the wasteland. But yeah,
we're crossing the threshold.
I'm so sorry I cut you off mid-sentence. I did not mean to do that. My apologies.
No, it's okay. I like what you had to say better. I don't work in the industry, so I appreciated this time getting to talk to you both about movies. I love them. I don't know much about how they're made, but thanks for letting me rant and ramble about them.
It has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah. Do you guys have any specific memories or episodes or moments that
I will say I really liked I liked the lead up better than the film. I didn't dislike the film, but I did very much like the 2024 Twisters theme we had going with the if you feel it, chase it. That was our 2024 theme.
That was an anthem.
The first half of the year,
And this is also,
it was great, and we all went to go see it together, which is great because for listeners at home, we don't all live in the same area, so that was super fun. I loved the Mad Max series doing that. For me, it's Indiana Jones. As you all know, my first time watching them, and I got to chat about them with you guys, which was wonderful.
A shout out to my favorite memory of the Anthony Ambrosino, the battle over the quality of Temple of Doom. That was one of my favorite episodes because Anthony Ambrosino sometimes says things that I think, but we have slightly different personalities. So to hear him voice it was like my brother from another mother on that episode. So Anthony, shout out.
And you liked it because it was CGI. No, didn't like it. Didn't like it.
I want to. There's like 2 or 3 episodes I just want to point out. I look back. I've actually listened, I think, in the past year to episode 1, and I know B, you weren't part of the show then, but I have to say though, if I don't encourage people to listen to it, but I have to say that I was so nervous because I had no idea what we were doing. The audio is terrible, and for some reason, I couldn't figure out that there was this auto leveling feature turned on, so all of our voices and the room noise were being equaled out, and it's so bad. And
I've got to go back and listen to that. Like I actually listen to this podcast when I'm doing like long drives. I will go back and listen to our previous episodes. It's highly entertaining. Our discussions.
I can listen to Ellie talk about The Notebook all day. So shout out to Ellie. You were right. I loved your romance suggestions. More of it.
Ellie, you will always be my mil cento noventa y ocho, Ellie, if you listen to this.
All I know about The Notebook is I had so much fun talking about this bad movie which I was
Sir.
the lone voice of reason for that show,
Sir.
and you and Ellie insisted on this being some great movie. I don't know. The
Yeah,
other
we
thing I
were-
want to say is episode 2. I'm not going to go through every single episode, obviously, but this was our first official review. And if you remember the movie, Sam, it was To Leslie.
Oh
This
my
was
God.
back
Yeah.
before
God.
I took notes on movies. At first, I thought I could just watch a movie and head into the podcast and just riff and just talk about it. This episode is probably our biggest disaster of all time. And
I got to
felt
hear 1 and 2 in the
so
car. Yeah, woo.
completely unprepared. I had no idea what to say because I had nothing prepared. Sam, is this later when you later confessed that you didn't finish the movie? Was that this movie?
Was it that? I can't remember if it was that film or another film. There was one that
Because
I
this
did.
would make sense because Ellie, this is the one where Ellie didn't understand the assignment, didn't watch the movie.
No, it wasn't that one. You know what it was? And now that it's like the end, I will admit this because I have since seen the film and I enjoyed it, but I only saw the first half of, it's been a while, but I only saw the first half of The Woman King. Was that the name of it?
Oh, that's what I was
Oh,
That's
that's
what
a
it
good
was.
movie.
And it was not on purpose as a time thing. And you noticed you were at the end of the episode, you're like, Sam, I noticed you're really quiet during the second half. I was like, I don't know. But like, I fell into silence because I was like, I do not know what they're talking about. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to like hide the fact that I
now I got to listen to that episode.
And then you made us all watch Ernest.
I did.
Yeah.
It was my joy to make us watch Ernest, and it was my joy to push Galaxy Quest relentlessly for our 100th podcast.
You
I
love
still have yet to give you guys Blu-ray presents, but expect certain thematic conversations to come in the mail to you. You know, might
my
be
God.
like, yeah.
It's gonna be Gremlins 2, isn't it?
It's a possibility. It's a possibility. Yeah.
I hope so.
I would say one of the episode 23. This is where a lot of things changed. Where we did our first director's retrospective, and we did Always. And I just remember Ellie hated this movie so much. And this is where we started adopting like monthly retrospectives, sort of like we dipped our toe in it. But I just thought it was so hysterical because she was just so offended by this film.
And I think she mentioned she fell asleep during a part of it. And to quote Nathan, I vividly remember you being like this, and I apologize for my like terrible, not quality Nathan Sewer impression, but you were like, okay, well, Sam and I will discuss the film then. Okay, thank you for participating, Ellie. And so, Sam, what did you think?
Probably is what I said.
Yeah, because there's nowhere to go in the comments. She's like, I didn't like it. I fell asleep, and you're like, well, okay, well, thank you. And
I also remember Exorcist 2.
That was brilliant. How could I forget that?
What's great is that we all hated this movie, but it was so much fun to talk about a bad movie, which is something that we didn't get to do very often on the show. Like, like just an outright terrible film where we could just like dig into like why this is
what
so
the
bad.
fuck happened.
Yes, which is kind of too bad that we didn't have that up. Like we watched so many great films.
Oh god,
yeah,
we did. Yeah, I loved our first noir retrospective.
I had so much fun with that.
Oh my god, that was great.
I love 2023 and Noirvember both years. Big fan of that. Fond memories, especially of 2023, because I was like on the road in British Columbia watching many of those films for the first time, and so I really enjoyed like that discussion. And, like, being in a different environment, that combination provided for good memories.
Yeah.
I still don't forgive you two for making my first episode Amistad.
Do you guys have a favorite movie that we reviewed on this podcast?
Oh, that's hard. But
maybe that you've never seen before. That would be the more of the caveat. Something you hadn't seen that you were forced, that you never would have watched, but we watched because of this podcast. I have one. I
have a few. Outside of Raiders of the Lost Ark, because that was just such a fun series for me. New for all of us, because it was a new movie. The Holdovers has stuck with me.
Yep. Okay.
Holdovers is great. I'm literally just looking at the list right now that I hadn't seen. Ooh, Oh, I know, definitely. You know what? For me, it was when we were doing our Chris Nolan.
I was thinking that for you. Sam.
Following. It was 100% Following. That movie.
Following?
Yeah.
His first movie?
Yep.
That's right. You like that movie a
I
lot.
like that
That's
movie
right,
a lot,
Yeah.
and it like shaped my whole. It shaped a whole new idea of like, ooh, low budget filmmaking. Interesting. Like, never seen it done quite like that. I thought it was brilliant. Micro budget, yeah.
I'd say for me, the movie that I've always wanted to see it, but if it wasn't for this podcast, I probably wouldn't have gotten around to it as early as I did, and that was Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Yeah.
Which
Nice.
I adored that film. I really
So
loved it.
good.
Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah.
That I really so thankful that I got around to seeing that. Yeah.
I know
Memento for me too. Memento is up there, which is crazy because it's such a classic movie, but I know
I totally hear that. I know what the best quote though is of all the movies we've seen in the entire podcast. Best quote of all of them.
If
You're about as interesting to me as a blocked toilet is to a fucking plumber. Al Pacino, Insomnia.
I'm sorry. I actually think the Insomnia quote is, "They found her in a garbage bag."
Garbage bags.
Her body was in a garbage bag.
This guy crossed the line. He didn't even blink.
You're making me not want to end this. All right, stop. All right.
Good
Okay.
times. Good times. Come see our 100th episode where we riff on Galaxy.
Well, by the time this comes out, I'll be past.
Thank you for coming to our 100th episode where you saw Galaxy.
It was incredible. Oh man.
Yeah, it was so much
That
fun.
incredible
Yeah.
rainstorm that night. It was amazing. 100th episode.
Oh,
was amazing.
magical. Yeah.
Thanks to all those people that came out and
Woo!
praised us. Yeah.
Yeah.
that
They
was
said,
good.
please don't let it end.
People tell me it was the most sold out crowd ever. Way more than Barack Obama's inauguration. Way more.
Totally. Way more. Way more. It was big league.
It was big. It was huge.
Huge.
Bigger than Coachella, I hear.
It was bigger than Coachella.
Yeah.
By the way, should I do one last Mark Wahlberg? Guys, we gotta think. We gotta worry about the bees. What are they doing? There's something in the wind. What the
Go
fuck?
see The Beekeeper 2024. Go see it.
Flight risk. It's
Cheers.
coming.
Y'all need a pilot.
All right. Well, we've still got one more episode. We're doing the live show, Galaxy Quest, which I am really excited about, and we'll have a good time then, as Harry Chapin said. All right.
So long, folks.
All right. So yeah, let's wrap this up. All right.
Well,
You know what? I have one more bumper queued up here. I don't know why I have 3 bumpers. Should I just play it because it's
Yeah.
here?
I just want to throw in really quick my last comedic line for this series. Jim Carrey from oh my god, my brain is not Liar, the God one. What's it called? Bruce Almighty. He's like, this is Bruce Spenglin, whatever, signing off from Channel 7. See you later, fuckers.
and that's
You know
the
what?
way the cookie
I'm
crumbles.
ending it right there. No more bumpers. All right. That is the show for this week. Back to the Frame Rate is part of the Weston Media Podcast Network. Special thanks to Brian Ellsworth for our show opening. On behalf of all of us, we bid you farewell from the Fallout Shelter. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe for another week and leave a rating review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. Find all of our episodes at backtotheframerate.com, and you can follow us with our handle, Back to the Frame Rate. Your support brightens our bunker. Until next time, stay with us, keep hope alive, and share our show with your friends. This is the end of our transmission. Back to the Frame Rate, signing off.
I want you to
Don't you
know
know
it's over.
Well.
Well,
Bye.
bye.